Alrighty, how's it going, guys? Hank here, back at it with another short video on the Review and Preview Sports YouTube channel. As a friendly neighborhood reminder, I would like to encourage you guys to please don't forget to follow us on all of our social medias. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Review and Preview Sports. And of course, as always, please don't forget to find us on our YouTube channel and hit that big red subscribe button down below. And today, we're going to be talking about the New York Mets and their offseason moves. They signed 3 players in a matter of 4 hours last night. All of them pretty big news. And to help me break all of this down, we've got Review and Preview Zone and resident Mets fan Paul Lombardi. Paul, how's it going?
I'm doing good, Hank. Great day yesterday. We love to see it. Love to see it. With some much needed moves, really. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I was a little disappointed the Yankees couldn't get Starling Marte, but looking at the contract now, the more I think about it, I can kind of understand why Brian Cashman didn't want to make the move and pay all that money to him. But anyway, speaking of Mitch, let's get into it. He wasn't the first player the Mets obviously signed last night, but I think this is the biggest news out of all of them. So let's start with Starling Marte. The Mets signed him to a 4-year, I believe it was a $78 million contract. Instantly, with this move, the Mets have upgraded their outfield because you now have Mark Canha as well, who we'll get to later. But with those two joining Brandon Nimmo, that's already a better outfield you have this year than you did the year before. What were your thoughts upon this signing?
Oh, definitely. And we have a real center fielder now, too. Starling Marte is a Gold Glove caliber center fielder. Steals bases, which we need, a top of the order kind of hitter. Brandon Nimmo has been a great leadoff hitter, but he's not as great of a base stealer as Marte is. High average guy, has some power. He does literally everything. He's been one of my favorite players in baseball over the past 5-6 years. He's an all-around superstar. He really is. And I think that he was a much needed addition. More than anything else, especially, with Javier Baez out there on the market. I would love to retain Baez, but with, extending Lindor last offseason, he's not nearly as much of a must as another outfield piece too is. And, we're most likely not going to bring Conforto back now too, which is perfectly fine. Nimmo will probably take over right field. But Marte, I was ecstatic when I saw that. That was the move. It's been a rough off season to this point for the Mets up until yesterday, with all the desperation of finding a GM, still don't have a manager, getting spurned by Steven Matz, getting spurned by, a lot of guys, the dysfunction, all that kind of stuff. We needed a day like yesterday where that was much needed for the Mets to get back on track.
Yeah, Epler's definitely made some interesting moves. And to backtrack a little bit, yeah, it has definitely been a very chaotic offseason, to say the least. Like, I know you probably wish they kept Syndergaard, but I can understand why they wouldn't want to give him a year and $20 million after missing like a year and a half with injuries. And then as much as you can make the argument that maybe they probably were better off letting Steven Matz go, I still think that was probably dramatic too, just because of the manner in which your owner handled it by tweeting out his own opinion, which, I mean, look, I'm not really a big fan of owners like tweeting out there and going all off on social media, but it is what it is. I think Epler definitely did a good job yesterday with improving the outfielder. And like you said, center field's a very important position, and you're getting probably one of the better fundamentally sound outfielders in the game as there is. Cause I believe he was among, if he wasn't leading league in stolen bases, I believe he was at least in the top 5. No?
Oh no, he led the league in stolen bases this year.
He did.
He had 41, I believe. But obviously he split the year between the National League and the American League.
Right.
So he didn't end up leading either league in stolen bases, but he led all of the MLB in combined stolen bases this past year. I'm pretty sure he had 41, I think was the number. But he's a stud. He's an all-around superstar. He's young too. A 4-year deal is perfect. We haven't, as all baseball fans know too, as all Mets fans know very well, we haven't had a real center fielder in a while. It's been a long time since we had a real center fielder. Cespedes kind of played center field, but it was definitely more of a corner outfielder.
Right.
So I think that Marte is a perfect addition.
You also went through stretches of having Juan Lagares and Kevin Pillar, who were pretty much stopgap center fielders at best.
Exactly.
However, with that being said, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't think the signing comes without risk because while, yes, as you mentioned, Marte is still young, he's in his early 30s. He's going to be 37 by the time that contract expires. And make no mistake, I know they could have probably paid him more given how good he is hitting wise and like how good he is like with fundamentals and whatnot. But let's put it this way: by the time it's over, he's going to be his mid to late 30s. It's gonna probably get ugly if he doesn't have the same speed and the same fielding abilities as he does like at this point. So, all right, is that something that might concern you down the line?
I'm really not too concerned about it, to be honest with you. I think that a 4-year deal was definitely what you had to give him. There were so many teams after him. There was like 8 or 9 teams that were big on him, and he was going for right around 100 mil. I think it was a pretty good contract, and you never know obviously with any contract, you never know what the last year or two is going to bring. With a player aging, but he's coming off of arguably his best all-around season of his career, and that says a lot because of how great he's been throughout his entire career. So I think I'm not too worried about it. I think this is also an establishing point that we want to win now, and the last few seasons have been busts. So making a move like this is, even if he's amazing for the next 2 seasons and is not great for the last 2, I don't think if we're winning for these next 2 seasons in 22 and 23, I don't think any Mets fan is going to care. I think that it's a good move, and we got plenty of money. That's all that everyone's been talking about over the past year. We have plenty of money, so we shouldn't have to worry about that.
So obviously, we mentioned Starling Marte was the big move, but what about the other 2 guys? First off, the first guy they signed in the big news they made last night was Eduardo Escobar. Split some time with the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Milwaukee Brewers. His numbers on the year: 253, 28 home runs, 90 RBIs. I'm going to say it right now. I think that's an absolute steal. You're getting a guy who's a decent switch hitting slap hitter, add some depth to your lineup, and very versatile. I would imagine he's going to be playing third base for most of the year.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely love it because he's a good defender. He can play everywhere in the infield. He plays third, short, second, and first. And he's been one of the most underrated hitters in baseball for the last handful of years. He's a high RBI kind of guy, which is what we need too. You saw, last season, Pete Alonso was our only big RBI guy. Nobody else was driving in runs. Mm-hmm. We need guys who can drive in runs. And Escobar has done that throughout his entire career. He's a 90 plus, if he stays healthy, he's a 90 plus RBI guy every single season. So even though his average was, what was it, like 230s, 240s last season? 253. It's, that's lower than it has been in the past. He's not like a 280, 290 hitter, but if you're hitting 30 plus home runs, 90 plus RBIs, you can bat 250. Like you can easily get away with that. So I think that was a great move. I think that, it's good that he's very flexible. We can play him at second. I think second and third are going to be his 2 main positions, if I had to guess. Obviously, with Pete at first and Lindor at short. I think this opens the door too to trade JD Davis and to try to get something back for him. I think that between Davis, McNeil, and Dom Smith, at least one of those 3 guys is going to get traded this offseason, and that's kind of what every Mets fan thought. You can get stuff back for some of them. I think that JD Davis, trading him to American League team where he can possibly DH. He's kind of a positionless player. He's not a great third baseman. Escobar is probably a better third baseman than he is, even though Escobar is getting a little bit older. I think it was a fantastic move. And Mark Canha was also a very solid move. He's been one of Oakland's better pieces over the past several years. He is an underrated player, is a great base runner, has power, gets on base a lot too. He walks a lot. He's a good piece. He's a good bottom of the order for a competitive team kind of guy. I like both of these moves a ton. And I think that he definitely, from the production we had in left field last year, Canha could definitely be an upgrade.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with all that. I think on the surface, if you look at his batting average and the home runs, those might not be too high, but as Billy Beane said, sometimes you need those guys that can get on base. And I
Exactly.
think with the fact that he's another good fundamentally sound player, someone who can, as you mentioned, he's very versatile. He can play like anywhere in the outfield, put him in left, center, right, and maybe occasionally if somebody needs a day off in the infield, you could probably put him at first or third, like say give Pete a day off or whatnot. So
Exactly.
I think definitely those two, while they're not like sexy big splash signings, like they're signings that definitely improve the depth of the lineup. And I think the big question right now is what does this mean for the Mets going forward? Because you look at the infield, you still have Javi Baez, who's a free agent. His name has been rumored in talks with a lot of teams. Are you still confident that the Mets are going to be able to keep him?
I think it might be difficult. I think that these three moves were great moves, but the job's still not finished. I think that there's still, they have to address the starting pitching. They got to get some bullpen help. They definitely still have a lot more question marks, but these were three very big moves, very important moves too, especially answering the center field issue that has been plaguing them for a while. But I think it's definitely going to be much more difficult now to re-sign Baez. He's going. They're looking for 6 years, 200. I saw is like his asking price. That's pretty hefty for a second baseman. He's not going to be our shortstop, obviously. The Tigers can offer him their shortstop position. So, if he really wants to be the shortstop, if he really wants to be a $200+ million guy, he's probably not going to find that with us. But, you can never count it out. You never know, maybe bringing in Marte, he's best friends with Lindor. Maybe he accepts 150 to 200, somewhere in that range with the Mets. I could see us doing something like that. I don't see us, going much higher than 200 though for a second baseman. I think that bringing him back though could be humongous. If they become one of the scariest offenses in baseball. If you add Marte and Baez back to that, you've got Lindor coming back, you got Escobar, you got Alonso, you got McCann, you still have McNeil, Davis, and Smith on the roster. You still have Nimmo. I think they're easily one of the most dangerous lineups in baseball if you do bring back Baez. I think it just might be a little bit more difficult. They have to focus more on starting pitching right now. That's the main thing that I think needs to be looked at going forward.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, before we end this, I think we have to talk about Marcus Stroman. I think he's another guy that's also very important for the Mets to sign because, as we mentioned earlier, I know you didn't want to like overpay for Syndergaard, or at least match the Angels, and I totally get that.
Yeah,
he was injured, missed most of 2 years. I get that that's a risk, although I do think that makes sense for the Angels.
Yeah,
Steven Matz, obviously, you had that whole drama, but I think it was probably for the best that they let him. It might be for the best for him too, because he's going to a team that's got a pretty good infield. He's going to get a lot more outs now with the Cardinals with Arenado and Goldschmidt heading that really solid infield they have. So that might be for the best for him. Maybe not so much for the Mets, but you still got DeGrom, who's obviously going to be a question mark. I know he had a great first half, but because he missed the second half, there's still going to be questions about is he going to regain the same form he had in the first half. So definitely pitching is going to be a must. I would imagine. Is Robbie Ray a realistic possibility too, besides Stroman re-signing?
Oh, I think so. I think that Robbie Ray, Kevin Gossman, Stroman, obviously we're very interested in Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer seems, it's always seemed very unlikely that he would come to us. I really personally, I don't see him leaving the Dodgers. I feel like that's like the best situation for him. I would find it tough to believe for him to, go anywhere else. But, I think Gossman, Stroman, and Ray are three guys that we need to sign one of those three. Because we need a dominant number two in the rotation. I was wanting Stroman back for a long time. But if you're able to land a Robbie Ray, if you're able to land a Kevin Gossman, you don't need him. You don't need him back as badly as I thought. I think he's going to go for 100+. Gossman and Ray will probably go for close to that too. So just deciding on which one of those guys you're going to have. I want them to. I definitely think that those three guys are realistic. One of those three guys, and besides that, you need to sign maybe one or two other starters though too. To put together the rotation a little better, because the rotation is very depleted right now with Stroman possibly on his way out, Syndergaard leaving, the injuries with Carrasco, the uncertainty about DeGrom, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So the way I see it with regards to the Mets, I definitely think there's no question that they're a better team right now than they were at the end of the 2021 season. No question at all in my mind. Do I think they're division champions yet? No. I still think they have a little bit of ways to go to catch the Atlanta Braves, but I definitely think there's a slight chance I might be able to put them ahead of the Phillies. I think they probably were ahead of the Phillies last year, but injuries were a factor. You can't always control that. It is what it is. But Paul, as always, I want to thank you again for taking the time to join me, talk about your beloved New York Metropolitans. And before we go, Paul, please tell us where we can find you.
Awesome. Appreciate you having me, Hank. You guys can check me out Monday nights at 8:30 here on Review and Preview. I host the 3&D, which is a college basketball and NBA show. We talk about everything across the NCAA and the NBA. Have very good guests. It's a blast. So if you're a basketball fan, definitely go check that out. You can also check it out on the YouTube channel right here if you want to check out some of our episodes. But it premieres Monday nights at 8:30 on YouTube and Facebook Live.
Awesome. I can't wait to catch your next episode. Let's hope the Knicks keep on doing well and bing bong.
Bong.
In any event, as always, check out Paul on the 3&D. But of course, as we know, 3&D is a sub-show of Review and Preview. And as always, please don't forget to find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And of course, if you like what you see, if you want to see more of these short videos where I recap some baseball offseason news and maybe some more NFL news, please hit that big red button down below. Give us a like. And of course, if you have anything you want to say about this, please don't hesitate to leave a comment down below. And I will be talking to you guys later for some more updates on the MLB offseason. But until then, Hank and Dichter, and I'll see you soon.